A red panel is lit above the tank's head. There's a trap plate under the left wall. In 4 steps, he'll step on it, and the spikes will pierce him through. Only the porter who died 30 seconds ago and is somehow alive again knows this. Ethan Pack hangs in the void and feels nothing. No pain, no fear. He remembers the jaws of the womb clearly. He remembers the crunch of his own spine. He remembers how the world split into top and bottom. And then, darkness. A panel flashes before his eyes. White letters tremble. The lines rewrite themselves on the fly, as if someone is editing the text at this very second. An anomaly detected. Skill overwrite. Ethan tries to breathe. It won't come. The panel flashes one last time and goes dark. And the world crashes down on him like a bucket of ice water. The smell of chitin hits his nose. Under his feet, the stone floor of an anthill. In his ears, the hollow echo of voices. His heart is pounding so hard, his ribs are vibrating. Ethan is standing by a column, that very column. His hands are intact, his legs are intact. The cheap porter's jumpsuit is intact. A badge on his chest, Porter F, 3rd Raid. He's breathing. He's alive. And he remembers how he was dying 30 seconds ago. No, not back, forward, because the womb hasn't come out yet. Ahead, voices. Raid leader Sun Hajin stands in the center of the hall, issuing commands to the 5 hunters. Her back is straight, her voice is steady. She taps the floor with the shaft of her spear. Thud, thud, thud. And then Ethan sees something he's never seen before. A panel flashes above Hajin's head. S rank, swordswoman, fatigue, 34%, right wrist, microfracture. He blinks. The panel remains. He turns his head. The same one hangs above every hunter. Rank, class, health, mana, even the probability of panic in battle. He looks at the wall and it becomes transparent. Behind it is a corridor. Beyond the corridor is a room with a trap under the 3rd slab. Further on, a fork. The left path leads to a mine that isn't on any of the association's maps. The right one leads to a dead end with a collapse. Ethan looks up at the ceiling, and there's a panel, a huge one. Object, an ant colony's queen. Rank C+, sleep phase, awakening trigger, vibration, threshold, rhythmic beats, 2 per second, lasting over 40 seconds. Ethan looks down at the spear in Hajin's hand. Tap, tap, tap. She's been tapping for a minute now. Time until the queen awakens. 24 seconds. Ethan's knees buckle. Not from fear, from the volume of data. His brain is flooding like a hard drive suddenly loaded with a terabyte. He sees everything. 3 phases of combat. Charge, jaw grab, acid discharge, weak spot. 3rd abdominal segment. Opens for a 1.5 seconds after the lunge. 1 window. A standard sword will pierce the armor if struck precisely at the joint. No skill required. 20 seconds. Ethan steps forward. His legs feel like cotton. For 6 years he hauled boxes and said nothing. For 6 years he thanked people for scraps. For 6 years he lowered his eyes when S-ranks walked by. And now he has to approach a woman who can split a monster in half with a single blow and tell her what to do. 16 seconds. 2nd step. A tank named Minsu notices him. A big guy with a shield. He looks at Ethan like he's a cockroach that crawled out at the wrong time. 12 seconds. Ethan walks past. A panel is glowing above Minsu. 2 meters from the left wall. A trap plate under the wall. Spikes. Fatal damage for B rank and below. Minsu is 4 steps from death and doesn't know it. 8 seconds. Ethan freezes in front of Hajin. She's half a head taller than him. His eyes are cold. The eyes of a man who was clearing dungeons when Ethan was still sitting at his desk. Her gaze falls on his badge. Why are you here? Go away. Don't get in the way. 4 seconds. Ethan opens his mouth, and his voice doesn't tremble. Maybe because he's already died today. Maybe because Mom hasn't taken her morning dose yet, and he has 12 hours before she realizes he hasn't come home. Ethan speaks. The womb will wake up in 20 seconds, not in a minute. The trigger isn't the smell of eggs. The trigger is vibration. You're tapping with your spear. Stop it. Hajin's hand freezes on the shaft. The spear falls silent. Silence. Ethan keeps chopping. When she jumps, her abdomen will open for a second and a half. The third segment. Hit it there with a regular sword and move Minsu away from the left wall. There's a slab there. In 4 steps, he'll step onto it. Hajin is watching him. 2 seconds. 3. 5 hunters stare intently at the porter who has just told the S-rank swordswoman where to strike. The silence is so thick, you can hear water dripping from the ceiling. And then Hajin does something she has never done in her entire career. She obeys the porter's command. Her voice is sharp. Minsu. 3 steps to the right, quickly. Minsu flinches, but an S-rank body doesn't argue with an order. 1, 2, 3. Something clicks under her left foot. The floor slab gives way. Spikes shoot out of the floor exactly where he was standing a second ago. Minsu turns pale. Hajin rips her sword from its sheath, and in that very second, the wall behind them explodes. Holy shit. 3 meters high. The armor glints in the lamplight. Jaws snap. The very same ones that 30 seconds ago bit Ethan in half. A life that will never be again. The matka leaps. Ethan sees it in slow motion. The panel flashes. Phase 1. Sprint. Window in 8 seconds. Her abdomen splits open. Hajin is already in the air, sword above her head. She sees the seam in the shell and strikes. Precise. Clean. No skill. Just steel into flesh. The womb screams so loud it deafens her. Acid gushes from the wound. Hajin steps aside. Another strike. The womb collapses. It twitches. It goes still. Silence. Ethan's knees finally buckle, and he sinks to the floor. 5 hunters are staring at him. Minsu looks at the holes from the spikes, then at Ethan, then back at the holes. Hajin stands over the matka's carcass. Blood drips from the blade. She turns around. Her face is expressionless, but in her eyes, there's a question, a big one. Ethan scratches the back of his head. His hands are shaking, but for some reason, his voice is calm. He adds, "One more thing. There's a passage in the northeast wall. There's a room there with a B-rank chest. The guild hasn't registered it. We can go check it out." Silence stretches for 7 seconds. Then Minsu sits down on the floor nearby and says he needs a minute. Hajin tucks her sword behind her back. She looks at the porter in the cheap jumpsuit, and for the first time in 3 years since her team's death, something resembling interest flashes across her face. Alive. Real. She asks who he is. Ethan thinks for a second. "A porter, 3rd raid," and he adds quietly, "But it feels like something's changed." The B-rank chest stands in a room behind the northeast wall, exactly where the map in Ethan's head had shown. The room is small. The ceiling is low. It smells of dampness and old stone. 5 hunters and 1 porter stand before a stone chest covered in glowing runes. Ethan looks at it. The panel appears instantly. Dungeon chest, rank B. Contents, skill book, ice spear, rank B. 2 medium-quality magic stones, mana restoration potions, 3 of them. Opening condition, none. Trap, none. Ethan nods to Hajin. Clear, we can open it. She looks at him for another second. Then she walks over to the chest. The lid lifts with a heavy creak. Inside is exactly what the panel showed. A skill book, 2 stones, 3 potions. Minsu whistles. A rank B skill book goes for 300 million won on the market. There shouldn't be a drop like this in a C-rank dungeon. This is a secret room, unregistered. The guild has been here dozens of times and never found this passage, and an F-rank porter found it in 3 minutes. Hajin puts the loot in her inventory. She turns to the team. Her voice is steady and commanding. She announces that everything found will be processed through her personally. No one discusses it with the press. No one posts videos. Everything that happened in this anthill stays here. The team nods. They all saw the spikes sticking out from under the slab. They all saw how the queen fell with a single blow to the spot the porter had indicated. No one has any questions. The climb to the surface takes 20 minutes. Ethan goes last. As always, porters always go last. But this time, Minsu looks back every 30 seconds. At the exit from the dungeon, bright light stings their eyes. Seoul, evening. The gates shimmer blue behind them. All around is the association's perimeter. Ambulances, journalists behind the barricades. A routine C-rank raid doesn't attract attention. A couple of cameras are filming, just in case. Ethan stands by the porter's van. His pay awaits him. 120,000 won for 8 hours, about $90. For that, he risked his life. For that, he died and came back. He pulls out his phone. 3 missed calls from mom, 1 text. Son, don't forget to buy milk. Ethan stands and stares at the screen. The letters blur. He blinks. He doesn't cry. Porters don't cry when they come out of the dungeons. It's a rule he learned in his first month. Cry, and they won't call you back. He types a reply. I'll buy it. I'll be there in an hour. His finger hovers over the screen. He wants to write something else, something important. Mom, I died today and came back. Mom, everything's different for me now. Mom, I don't think I'm trash anymore. He deletes it all and writes, I'll buy a double. He sends it, puts his phone away. Behind him, the sound of footsteps. Hajin. She's taken off her chest plate. Her hair is pulled back in a ponytail. Without her armor, she looks younger, an ordinary 26-year-old girl. If you didn't know she could split a concrete wall with a single blow. She stops beside him. She's silent for 10 seconds. Ethan waits. He's used to waiting. Porters are the best at waiting. Hajin asks how he found out about the womb trigger. Ethan thinks for 3 seconds. Then he answers as honestly as possible. He says he saw it. She asks what he means by saw it. He says that after the womb killed him, he came back and began to see the mechanics of the dungeon. Panels, numbers, weak spots, a map, everything. Hajin is silent. Her face shows nothing. A classic S-rank reaction to information that needs processing. She doesn't believe him. That's normal. He wouldn't have believed it either. But she saw the spikes under the slab. She saw the womb jump at the 24-second mark. She saw the 3rd segment. She saw the chest behind the wall. 4 out of 4. Hajin remains silent for another 5 seconds. Then she says she wants to talk to him in more detail. Not here. Not now. Tomorrow. She hands him a business card. It has her name and number on it. No guild affiliation. A personal card. Ethan takes it with both hands. It's a reflex. A porter takes everything from S rank and up with both hands. With a bow. Hajin notices this gesture. Something in her eyes changes for a split second. She walks toward the black SUV. Ethan stands there with the business card. The wind ruffles his jumpsuit. He takes the bus home, as always. Porters ride the buses. Route 472, 40 minutes to Kwanak. He sits by the window. Outside the window is Seoul. Neon signs. Billboards with the faces of S-rank hunters. An advertisement for the White Tiger Guild. An advertisement for magic stones. Ads for energy drinks for the awakened. A world that changed forever 20 years ago. Ethan closes his eyes. The panels disappear. Outside the dungeon, the skill doesn't work on people. He's already tested it. The bus passengers aren't glowing. The driver isn't glowing. Only the dungeons. Only monsters. Only mechanics. He opens his eyes, takes out his phone, opens his notes, and begins to write. Everything he saw, everything he remembers. Womb panels, phases, timings, the anthill map, the secret room, the trap plate. He writes for 20 minutes, 4 pages. His handwriting is shaky because his hands are still trembling, but the data is accurate. He's always been good with data. 3 years at a game development studio in Pangyo, mobile MMO. DPS equations, difficulty curves, test servers. He used to beat bosses for money. Now he beats them for free. The difference is that now the bosses are real, and they die, and so does he. The bus stops. Ethan gets off. He buys milk at the store near his house. A double pack, just as he promised. He goes up to the 4th floor. There's no elevator. There never was. He opens the door. The apartment is small. 2 rooms. A kitchen. Mom is sitting in front of the TV. The news. An S-rank guild raid in Busan. Handsome people in beautiful armor. Mom turns around, smiles, asks how his day went. Ethan puts the milk in the fridge. He answers that it was fine. Just a regular raid. Nothing special. Mom nods. She's used to it. 6 years of the same answers. Fine. Normal. Nothing special. She doesn't know that today her son died. She doesn't know that he's back. She doesn't know that he now sees what no one else sees. Ethan sits down next to her. He looks at Mom. He does the math math in his head. Her insulin costs 400,000 won a month. His salary as a porter is 2,400,000. Rent is 1,200,000. Food, transportation, utilities, zero left. Zero every month. Ethan looks at the business card in his pocket. Sun Hajin, S rank. He thinks about the B rank chest, a skill book worth 300 million, a secret room that no one has found in dozens of raids. He found it in 3 minutes. If he can find rooms like that regularly, if he can read boss mechanics, if he can see traps before anyone steps on them, then he's not a porter, he's something else. Something that doesn't have a name yet. Mom falls asleep in front of the TV. Ethan covers her with a blanket, mutes the sound, goes to his room, sits down at the desk. He opens his laptop. He goes to the Hunters Association forum, the dungeon analytics section, open data, maps, raid reports, casualty statistics. He reads for 3 hours, not because he needs to, but because he can't stop. Every report of a failure, every casualty. He sees the mistakes. Here the team went right when they should have gone left. Here the tank took up the wrong position. Here the leader didn't notice the boss's second phase. Here the healer panicked. Dead people. Because of mistakes he spots at a glance. Ethan closes the laptop. He lies down on the bed. The ceiling is white. A crack in the corner. He's lived with that crack for 4 years. Tomorrow he'll meet with Sun Hajin. Tomorrow he'll show her his notes. Tomorrow, something. Or tomorrow she'll decide he's crazy and call security. Both options are equally likely. Ethan closes his eyes. He falls asleep in 12 seconds. His body remembers that he was dying today. His brain remembers that tomorrow he has to live. A cafe on the 3rd floor of a smoking center in Gangnam. Ethan arrived 40 minutes early, a porter's habit. Be late for the shift and they won't call you back. He sits by the window, an Americano in front of him, the cheapest on the menu, 4,500 won. He calculates it automatically. 4,500 won is 3 hours of work as a porter in a C-rank dungeon after taxes and insurance. He drinks his coffee slowly. Outside the window is Canum, glass towers, the White Tiger Guild headquarters on the 23rd floor, the Scarlet Lotus headquarters across the street. Between them, a billboard with Kang Do-yeon's face. S-rank, swordsman, an icon of Korea, a snow-white smile, a sword on his back, a caption. Protecting the future. Next to it, the logo of an energy drink. Ethan looks at the billboard. The panel doesn't appear. The skill doesn't work outside the dungeon. Here, he's just Efka again, a skinny guy in his only clean shirt. Hajin arrives exactly on time. Not a minute early, not a minute late. She's wearing a simple black jacket and jeans, no makeup, hair in a ponytail. She sits down across from him. She orders green tea. She's silent for 30 seconds. Ethan waits. Then Hajin says she didn't sleep all night. She checked his story. She contacted the guild's analytics department. She asked for data on the anthill. The trigger for the womb is indeed vibration. It was in a report from 3 years ago, buried in a footnote on page 47. No one had read it. The trap plate is indeed registered in another report from 2 years ago, a footnote on page 32. No one had read that either. The secret room, never discovered, never documented anywhere. Hajin looks at him. Her eyes are very attentive. She asks where it's from. Ethan takes out his phone, opens his notes. 4 pages. He puts it on the table, turns it toward her. Hajin reads, slowly. Her finger glides across the screen. She pauses at the description of the phases of the uterus, reads it twice, 3 times. Ethan sees her eyebrows furrow slightly. That means she's comparing his data with her combat experience. And the data matches. Hajin looks up. She says there's no such level of detail in any of the association's reports. Timings down to tenths of a second. Vulnerability percentage. Trigger conditions. This is Research Institute level, not a porter's. Ethan is silent. Then he explains again, briefly. He died in that anthill, came back, gained a skill. The skill reveals the mechanics of the dungeons, all of it, in real time. Ha-jin is silent for a long time, a minute and a half. Then she asks one question. Can he do it again? In another dungeon? Ethan answers honestly. He doesn't know, but most likely yes. Ha-jin takes a sip of tea, sets down the cup, and says 3 sentences that change Ethan's life. First, she's leaving the White Tiger Guild today. Second, she needs an analyst, not a porter, an analyst. Third, he's moving in with her today. Ethan opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. Moving in, you mean? Ha-jin explains. She has a 3-bedroom apartment. She lives with her younger sister. There's a guest room. He'll live there until they figure out what this ability is and how to use it. His safety is now her responsibility. If the guilds find out that an F-rank porter can see dungeon mechanics, they'll come for him. Not with a contract, with a van without license plates. Ethan sits with his mouth open. Just yesterday, he was expendable, one of thousands just like him. A name on the list on the last page. Today, an S-rank swordswoman tells him that his safety is her responsibility. He wants to say something clever, something worthy of the moment. Instead, he asks if his mom can come too. Ha-jin blinks. Then something appears on her face. Not a smile, the shadow of a smile. She says the apartment is big, and she has to feed someone anyway. Ethan pulls out his phone. He calls his mom. Mom, we're moving. No, everything's fine. No, better than fine. Pause. Yes, I'll bring milk. Ethan spends the next 4 hours in a state he hasn't known for 6 years. Ha-jin calls the White Tiger office. The conversation lasts 2 minutes. Her voice is steady. She announces her departure from the guild. There's a long silence on the other end. Ha-jin listens. Then she replies with a single sentence. The decision is final. She hangs up. Ethan can hear his heart pounding. He has just caused an S-rank hunter to leave the country's top guild. Because of a porter, because of Efka. They take a taxi to Quanok. They pick up Mom, 2 suitcases. The entire life of the Park family in 2 suitcases. Mom looks at Ha-jin with that expression Korean mothers have when their son brings home a pretty girl. Ethan quickly explains that she's a co-worker. Mom nods. But her expression doesn't change. Ha-jin's apartment in Gangnam, 20th floor, 3 rooms, clean, quiet. The Hunters Association headquarters is visible from the window. Ha-in greets them in the kitchen. Ha-jin's younger sister, 17 years old, school uniform, 2 ponytails, round face. She looks up at Ethan, then at Mom, then at the suitcases, then at her sister. Ha-jin speaks briefly. This is Ethan. He'll be living with us. This is his mom. She's here too. Ha-in blinks. Then she smiles, widely. She says that finally there will be someone to eat her rice cakes. She makes too many for just the 2 of them. Ethan's mom smiles back. 10 minutes later, they're sitting in the kitchen. Hyun serves tea to everyone. Ethan's mom takes a jar of kimchi out of the suitcase. Homemade. Hyun tastes it. Her eyes light up. Ethan sits at the table and realizes that for the first time in 6 years, he smells food instead of chitin. Ha-jin stands by the window, with her back to the room. She looks out at the city. Ethan sees her reflection in the glass. Her face is calm, but her hands are clenched. She has just given up everything. The guild, the contract, stability. All because of 4 pages of notes in the porter's phone. Ethan approaches quietly. He stands beside her. He says nothing. Then he speaks a single sentence. I won't let you down. Ha-jin doesn't turn around, but her hands unclench. In the evening, Ethan sits in the guest room. Clean sheets, warm light. Behind the wall, Ha-in is laughing about something with his mom. He opens his laptop. There's a new post on the association's forum. Attention! A distorted B-rank dungeon in the Gyeonggi-do area. The 3rd one this month. The previous 2 teams came out with casualties. Reconnaissance is needed. Reward for information. 50 million won. Ethan reads the report, reads it twice, closes his eyes, thinks. If his skill works in any dungeon, not just that anthill, if he can read a distorted dungeon, 50 million won. That's 10 years worth of insulin for Mom. He opens the messenger app. He finds Ha-jin's contact. He types, Did you see the post about the distorted B rank in Gyeonggi-do? The reply comes 4 seconds later. I saw it. I'm thinking the same thing. Ethan leans back in his chair. Outside the window, Gangnam glows with neon lights. Somewhere out there, behind the glass of the guild's skyscrapers, they're counting money. The association is counting its losses. Korea is counting down the days until the next distortion. And in the guest room on the 20th floor, a skinny guy with an F rank is counting something else. He's figuring out how 6 people can get through the dungeon that devoured 2 teams, without a single scratch. The Korean Hunters Association, headquarters, a glass building in the center of Seoul. Hajin walks down the hallway like someone who's been here 100 times. Ethan follows her like someone who's here for the first time, because that's exactly what he is. Porters aren't allowed in the associations. Porters are in the basement, where they hand out protective suits and sign a waiver in case of death. Ethan has signed such a waiver 26 times. 26 raids, the same piece of paper every time. In the event of the death of an F-rank porter, compensation amounts to 5 million. That's 3 months worth of mom's insulin. That's how much Efka's life is worth. But today he isn't in the basement. Today he's on the 6th floor, the classification department. Hajin stopped at the door with the nameplate. Department head, Park Son-ho. She knocks. Once. Briefly. The door opens. The office is large. The desk is covered with papers. At the desk sits a man in his 50s. Glasses, a receding hairline. His tie is slightly askew. A typical bureaucrat. He sees Hajin and stands up. He bows. An S rank is an S rank, even for a bureaucrat. Then he sees Ethan. His gaze slides over the cheap shirt, over the badge Ethan hasn't taken off. An F-rank porter. Supervisor Park sits back down. Hajin explains. She wants Ethan reclassified. Rank F doesn't match his actual abilities. She needs the association to conduct a retest. Supervisor Park listens, nods, then opens a folder. He flips through the pages. He finds a file. Park Ethan, rank F. Skill. Sharp vision plus 5%. Awakening, 6 years ago. Number of raids, 26. All as a porter. Not a single combat one. The head looks at Hajin, then at Ethan, then back at Hajin. He says that the ranking system is established by an international convention. F is F. Reclassification is only possible with confirmed mana growth. Ethan has as much mana as an ordinary person. 0.03 units. Even for an F rank, that's rock bottom. Hajin says his abilities aren't related to mana. Director Park sighs. He explains slowly, like an adult to a child. The awakening system is based on mana. All ranks are tied to mana. All skills are tied to mana. If a person has no mana, they have no skills. Period. There are no exceptions. In 20 years, there hasn't been a single one. Hajin clenches her teeth. Ethan can see it in the muscle of her jaw. She's holding back, but her back straightens even further. She says that this F-rank porter read the mechanics of a C-rank boss's mechanics down to the 10th of a second. He found a secret room that isn't recorded in a single association report. And he saved a B-rank tank's life by discovering a trap known only from an archive report from 3 years ago. Head Pak sighs again. Then he utters a phrase that Ethan will remember for a long time. He says he believes Hajin, but the system doesn't run on faith. The system runs on data, and the data says F. Hajin stands up. The chair rolls away. The head of the department flinches. An S rank in a rage is the kind of thing that makes bureaucrats wake up in a cold sweat. But Hajin doesn't yell. She simply says thank you for his time and leaves. Ethan bows to the head of the department. Out of habit, he follows her out. In the hallway, Hajin stands by the window. She looks out at the city. Her hands are clenched. Ethan stands beside her. He's silent. Then he speaks. As expected, she turns. Surprise crosses her face. Ethan explains. He'd already figured out this conversation yesterday. 92% chance they'd refuse. The ranking system isn't the problem. The problem is that his skill doesn't fit into any category. He's not a fighter, not a mage, not a healer, not a tank. He's an analyst, and there's no such category in the association. Hajin asks why they came here then. Ethan answers, so she would understand. The system won't help. Bureaucracy won't help. The only way to prove his worth is through results. He needs a dungeon, a real one, a difficult one, and a team that will carry out his plan. Hajin looks at him. 5 seconds, 10, then she nods. They leave the association building. The sun is out on the street. Seoul goes about its usual life. People are rushing to work. Cars are stuck in traffic. Somewhere in the distance, the gates are flickering. Constant, around the clock. They've been here for 20 years. Ethan looks at them and thinks that the gates are very much like a loading screen. Hajin says she knows someone, a mage, A rank, smart, understands dungeon theory. If anyone is capable of accepting what Ethan does without panicking, it's her. Ethan asks who. Hajin says Cho Ji-young, a graduate student in the Department of Theoretical Physics, an ice mage, 23 years old. They meet the next day. Ji-young arrives wearing glasses, shoulder-length hair, a cardigan over a t-shirt with Euler's formula. She looks at Ethan like a scientist examining a specimen, with interest, without condescension. This is already more than Ethan is used to getting from an A-rank hunter. Hajin briefly explains the situation. Ji-young listens, doesn't interrupt, then asks a question, one, precise. She asks whether Ethan's ability works by overlaying an information layer onto physical reality or as direct access to the dungeon's data. Ethan blinks, then he smiles. For the first time in 2 days. Because it's the right question. It's a question he would have asked himself. He answers, direct access. The panels aren't interpretation. The panels are raw data. He doesn't see what should be, he sees what is. He explains the difference with an example. Interpretation is when an analyst looks at a boss and estimates that its attack lasts about a second. Direct access is when he sees that the active hitbox of the attack lasts exactly 0.4 seconds and the animation 1.2. Ji-young takes off her glasses. She wipes them, puts them back on. Her pupils are slightly dilated. She says that if this is true, then what they're facing isn't a skill in the classical sense. It's a back door. Someone gave Ethan access to the dungeon's source code. Silence. Hajin looks at Ji-young. Ji-young looks at Ethan. Ethan looks out the window. A back door. He'd thought of that himself, all night, but hearing it from an A-rank mage from the Department of Theoretical Physics is different. It's confirmation. Ji-young says she wants to see the skill in action. Hajin nods. Ethan nods. A distorted B-rank dungeon in Gyeonggi-do, a 50 million won bounty. 2 teams came out with casualties. The third didn't make it out at all. The perfect test. Ji-young asks when. Hajin answers, in 3 days. We need to prepare. We need gear. We need a plan. Ethan says there will be a plan. He's already started calculating. Ji-young looks at him. Then she takes a white marker out of her bag. She walks over to the cafe's glass wall and draws a coordinate system. She says that if they're going into a distorted dungeon, she needs all the data Ethan has on normal dungeons, baseline, checkpoints, boss behavior patterns. To understand what has changed, you need to know what was normal. Ethan takes out his phone. He opens his notes. 4 pages on the anthill. Plus another 12 pages he's written over the last 2 nights. Analysis of 16 public association reports, errors, patterns, hypotheses. Ji-young takes the phone. She reads, slowly, flips through the pages, goes back, rereads. 5 minutes later, she looks at Ethan. Her glasses have slipped to the tip of her nose. She speaks softly. She says that in 2 days, he's done an analysis that the guild's analytics department spends a month on. Ethan shrugs. He replies that the analytics department doesn't have his skill. Ji-young shakes her head. She says that the skill gave him the data on the anthill, and he wrote the 12 pages on the other dungeons from open sources, without the skill, with his own mind. It's not the skill. It's him. Ethan is silent. He doesn't know how to respond. No one has ever told him that his mind is worth anything. At the game development studio, he was a junior. On raids, he was a pack mule. No one ever needed his analysis. Ji-young takes off her glasses. She looks at Hajin. She says one sentence. She goes with them. 3 days of preparation. Ethan doesn't sleep properly a single night. He sits at the kitchen table in Ha-jin's apartment and works. Laptop, tablet, 3 notebooks, pencils. Ha-eun brings him tea every 2 hours. He thanks her without looking up. On the laptop screen is everything the association has posted about the distorted dungeon in Gyeonggi-do. From the first team's report, 6 people went in, 4 came out, 2 died on the 3rd floor. The boss changed its behavior mid-fight, a phase that hadn't been there before. The team didn't have time to regroup. Report from the second team, 8 people, everyone came out, 3 seriously wounded, 1 lost an arm. They reached the 4th floor. The 4th floor boss used a skill not found in the database, area attack, damage type unknown. They retreated. 3rd team, 5 people, no one returned. Communication was lost on the 5th floor. The gates closed after 40 hours. Standard protocol. If the team doesn't emerge within 40 hours, the dungeon is declared cleared or lost. No bodies were found. Ethan reads the reports. He reads between the lines. His brain is operating in a mode he knew even before acquiring the skill, game designer mode. When you're testing someone else's dungeon and looking for where the developer cut corners, or the opposite, where the developer hid a surprise. He sees a pattern. 1st floor, standard. 2nd, standard. 3rd, a distortion. The boss gets an extra phase. 4th, the distortion intensifies. New ability. 5th floor, unknown. But if the pattern continues, the 5th floor is a complete rewrite of the mechanics. New rules, new triggers. Everything the team knew up to that point stops working. A classic technique. Ethan used it himself in a mobile MMO. The first floors teach the player the mechanics. The middle floors break one rule. The final floor grapes all the rules. A test of adaptability. He jots this down in his notebook, underlines it, then writes below, question, who is this game designer? He closes his notebook. Morning of the 3rd day. Kitchen. Ha-jin is sitting across from him. Ji-young is next to him. Between them is a table piled high with papers. Ethan is standing by the whiteboard that Ji-young brought from the university. On the board is a map of the dungeon. 5 floors. Distortion zones are marked in red. Presumed safe zones in blue. Green marks the spots where Ethan plans to stop and use his skill for reconnaissance. Ethan begins the briefing. His voice is steady, calm, just like at a daily stand-up in the Pangyo office. Only instead of a bug in the code, he's explaining how not to die. 1st floor, standard sweep. C-rank monsters. Ha-jin leads. Ji-young provides support. 20 minutes maximum. Ethan follows behind them and gathers data. His skill should activate as soon as they enter the dungeon. If not, it's plan B. They retreat, and he returns 50 million back to the dream. 2nd floor, standard 2, but Ethan wants to linger. He needs time to read the dungeon more deeply, to understand the structure, to see where the distortion begins. 30 minutes. 3rd floor, 1st distortion zone. 2 from the 1st team died here. A boss with an additional phase. The plan. Ethan analyzes the boss, finds a weak spot, gives the coordinates. Ha-jin strikes. Ji-young freezes the monster's escape routes. The timing must be precise. Ethan stops, looks at Ha-jin, speaks. This is the crucial moment. She'll have to strike on his command, not on her instincts, not on experience, on his word. One word. Now. And she strikes. If she strikes half a second too early or too late, the window will close. Ha-jin looks him in the eyes, nods, without words. 4th floor. Area attack of unknown type. The 2nd team lost a tank here. Ethan says he can't plan this floor in advance. He hasn't seen the boss. He has no data. The entire strategy for the 4th floor is a single phrase, I'll figure it out on the spot. Ji-young raises an eyebrow, says that's not a plan, it's hope. Ethan agrees, but he adds, he has a basis for this hope. The anthill. There, the skill activated in 3 seconds. He needs 3 seconds to figure out the new boss's mechanics. 3 seconds and a clear line of sight. Ha-jin and Ji-young's task, to give him those 3 seconds. Ji-young is silent. Then she says, okay, 3 seconds they can guarantee. 5th floor. Ethan places a marker on the board, a big red question mark. No data. The 3rd team hasn't returned. He doesn't know what's there, but he knows one thing. If the pattern is correct, the 5th floor breaks all the rules, and the only person in the world who can figure out the new rules on the fly is him. The briefing is over. Silence. Ha-jin sits motionless. Her fingers rest on the hilt of her sword. A habit. Ji-young chews on the cap of the marker, thinking. Then Hajin says something Ethan didn't expect. She says they need one more person, at least. Ideally, two. She explains. If Ethan collapses from overexertion after 3 hours of intense work and they're on the 4th floor, someone has to carry him to the exit. And that someone can't be Hajin because she's on the front lines, and not Jeong because she's support. They need someone to protect Ethan, a personal shield. Ethan grimaces. He's not used to anyone protecting him. For 6 years, he was the one no one noticed, and now he needs a bodyguard. Ji-young adds. And a healer would be good too, just in case. Hajin nods. Then she says she knows a sniper, not from Korea, from America, S rank, the best shooter she's ever seen. The problem is that this sniper is currently in the country illegally, and that this sniper is a woman with a personality that can be described as controlled chaos. Ethan asks if she can be trusted. Hajin thinks for 3 seconds. Then she says, life, yes. A secret, more complicated. But in battle, it doesn't get any better than this. Ethan does the math in his head. An S-rank swordswoman, an A-rank mage, an S-rank sniper, and him, F-rank, analyst. A strange team, small. But if his skill works like an anthill, then small is even better. Fewer variables, easier to optimize, easier to control. Hajin pulls out her phone. She dials a number. Long rings. Then someone answers on the other end. Ethan hears a woman's voice, loud, with an American accent in Korean. Hajin says 3 sentences. There's a job. A distorted B-rank dungeon, needed in 2 days. They laugh on the other end. Then the voice says something in English. Ethan makes out only one word. Finally. Hajin hangs up. He says, Haley Carter, S-rank, sniper, former U.S. Special Forces. She'll be here the day after tomorrow. Ethan nods. Then he goes back to the board. He erases the question mark on the 5th floor. He draws a new one, a small one. He writes a single word next to it. We'll manage. Jeong snorts. She says, that's not a strategy. Ethan agrees. He replies that it's a prediction. The prediction's accuracy is 67%. With the addition of an S-rank sniper, it'll rise to 74. Jeong asks, what about the remaining 26? Ethan is silent for a second. Then he says, the remaining 26 is why I'm needed. Hajin smiles for the first time in 3 days. A small smile, almost imperceptible, but Ethan notices. He notices everything now. That evening, Ethan is in the kitchen, alone. Everyone is asleep. He stands by the window. Seoul is ablaze with lights. Somewhere out there, a bunker in Gyeonggi-do awaits. 5 floors, distorted, 3 teams, 2 dead, 3 wounded, 5 missing. And in 2 days, 3 women and 1 porter will go there. Ethan looks at his hands. Thin, weak, hands that have been hauling boxes for 6 years. These hands have never held a sword, never shot a bow, never cast spells. These hands typed code, calculated formulas, drew graphs. And now these hands are enough. A rustle behind him. Ha-eun, in her pajamas, with 2 mugs. She sets one down in front of Ethan. Hot chocolate. He didn't ask for it. She didn't ask. She just saw the light in the kitchen and made it. Ethan takes a mug, thanks her. Ha-eun sits down on a chair next to him. She's silent. Then she says that for the first time in a year and a half, her sister fell asleep without sleeping pills. Ethan looks at her. Ha-eun explains. After the team's death a year and a half ago, Ha-jin hadn't slept properly. She woke up every night. Every night, she sat in the kitchen until dawn. Ha-eun heard her pacing, back and forth, for a year and a half. And yesterday, Hajin went to bed at 11 and fell asleep, without a pill, for the first time. Ha-eun doesn't say thank you. She doesn't say that Ethan helped. She just states the fact, and then she finishes her hot chocolate. She gets up, she says goodnight, and she leaves. Ethan sits in the kitchen. The hot chocolate is getting cold in his hands. He thinks about Hajin, about the team she lost, about the sleepless nights, about the kitchen at 3 in the morning, and about the fact that in 2 days, he'll lead her into the dungeon that kills teams. He has no right to make a mistake. Not because she's S-rank, not because 50 million is at stake, but because a 17-year-old girl in pajamas just told him that her sister is finally asleep. Ethan finishes his hot chocolate, washes the mug, returns to his laptop, opens a file, types a title, Raid Plan, Distorted B-Rank Dungeon, Gyeonggi-do, version 4, and starts counting from the beginning, from the very beginning. Because 74% is good, but he needs 100. Haley Carter shows up not in 2 days, but in 1, without warning. The door to Hajin's apartment opens at 7 in the morning. Standing on the threshold is a red-headed woman in a leather jacket. She's 5'9", broad shoulders, a tan you can't get in Seoul, a long case on her back. Ethan knows what's in the case: a rifle, an S-rank sniper rifle that can't be legally transported to any country in the world. Haley walks in as if she were at home. She takes off her boots. She looks around the apartment. She notices Ethan. He's standing in the hallway in his pajamas with a cup of coffee. His hair is a mess. His eyes are red from 3 nights in front of his laptop. Haley looks at him for 3 seconds. Then she turns to Hajin, who has come out of her room with a sword in her hand. A reflex. The door opened without a knock. Haley tells Hajin that she hasn't changed. Then she nods at Ethan and asks if this is the genius she's been told about. Hajin puts the sword away. She nods. Haley turns to Ethan. She walks over. She stands close. Too close by Korean standards, normal by American standards. She's 3 centimeters taller than him. She looks down at him. Her eyes are green and very observant. Despite the volume of her voice and her relaxed posture, those eyes read everything. Special forces training never goes away. Haley says he doesn't look like a genius, more like a student after finals. Ethan takes a sip of coffee. He replies that he's after a 6-year-long finals period. Haley blinks. Then she laughs. Loudly. Loud enough for the whole apartment to hear. Haun peeks out of the room. Ethan's mom comes out of the guest room. In 10 minutes, the kitchen turns into a place where 5 people are sitting at the table, trying to figure out how they ended up here. Ethan's mom feeds Haley breakfast. Haley eats as if she hasn't eaten in 3 days. Maybe that's the case. Staying in the country illegally doesn't usually involve regular meals. Haun looks at Haley with the expression teenagers have when they're around people they think are incredibly cool. Hajin drinks tea. Ethan opens his laptop. Time to work. He begins a briefing for Haley. Brief, to the point. A distorted B-rank dungeon. 5 floors. 3 failed to reach them. His skill, the gist, the limitations, the plan. Haley listens without interrupting. This surprises Ethan. At first glance, she seemed like the kind of person who interrupts everyone all the time. But when it comes to work, to combat, to the plan, she becomes someone else. Her back is straighter. Her eyes are narrower. Her fingers are still. She's a sniper, a person who lies in one position for hours for the sake of a single shot. Her patience isn't infinite. It's surgical. It kicks in when needed. Ethan finishes the briefing. Haley is silent for 5 seconds. Then she asks 3 questions. First, what is the distance from the entrance to each floor to the first contact with the enemy? Second, are there any spots on the floors higher than 3 meters for a sniper position? Third, how many seconds between his command and the necessary shot? Ethan answers the first and third. On the second, he says he doesn't know. He needs to see the basement from the inside. Haley nods. She says she'll go. No contract, no advance payment. She explains simply, she's bored. She's been in Korea for 4 months, illegally, without a job, without a team. She's been shooting at whiskey bottles at the shooting range. She needs a real fight, and she needs people she can trust with her back. There aren't many people like that. Hajin is one of them. Haley looks at Ethan. She adds that she'll test him in action. Ethan nods. The next day, final preparations. 4 people at the table. Ethan is at the whiteboard. Plan version number 6. He rewrote it twice after Haley showed up. A sniper changes everything. Ranged damage, precision hits, the ability to attack from a position the boss doesn't know about. Ethan has reworked the tactics for each floor. First and second floors. Hajin is the front line. Ji-young is support. Haley in a free position. Ethan in the rear. Standard sweep. His task is to gather as much data as possible on the dungeon's layout using his skill. Third floor. This is where the real work begins. A boss with an additional phase. Ethan will stay behind the front lines. He needs a clear line of sight to the boss. 3 seconds of focus. Then he gives the attack coordinates. Hajin attacks in melee. Haley attacks from a distance. Ji-young controls the battlefield with ice. Timing is critical. When Ethan says now, he means now, not a second later. Now. Fourth floor. An unknown boss with an area of effect attack. Ethan explains. seconds. The plan here is simple. They walk in, they stop, they don't move. They give him 10 seconds. He reads the room, reads the boss, reads the mechanics, and devises a strategy on the spot. 10 seconds of silence and stillness upon entering a room with a boss that kills teams. Ha-jin nods, Ji-young nods, Haley nods. They trust him, or at least they trust Ha-jin, who trusts him. That's enough. Fifth floor, a big question mark. Ethan is straightforward. He doesn't know what's there. No one does. The third team didn't come back, but he knows himself. 3 seconds to assess, 3 seconds to plan, 3 seconds for the command, 9 seconds from entry to first action. If they give him 9 seconds, he'll give them the route. Haley asks, "What if it's not enough?" Ethan replies, "Then you have 3 S and A rankers. Go on instinct." But that won't happen. Haley raises an eyebrow. She asks where that confidence comes from. Ethan is silent for a second. Then he says, "Because he's already died once, and he's not going to do it again." Silence. Haley stares at him for a long time. Something in her face changes. Something small, barely noticeable. Respect. Not for the skill, for the person who speaks of his own death as calmly as a bug in the code. Evening. Preparations. Ha-jin sharpens his sword. Rhythmic movements. The sound of metal against stone. Ji-young calibrates his staff. A blue glow. Haley disassembles and reassembles her rifle. Eyes closed. By touch. 6 seconds. Disassembled. 6 seconds. Reassembled. Ethan sits at the table. A tablet in front of him. On the tablet is the final version of the plan. Version 7. He's reading it for the 13th time. Looking for a mistake. Can't find one. But the feeling won't go away. Something's wrong. He's missed something. He can't figure out what. Ha-eun approaches. She places a plate in front of him. Kimbap, cut into even slices. A glass of milk beside it. Ethan looks at her. Ha-eun says he hasn't eaten since this morning. 8 hours without food. She's been counting. Ethan takes the kimbap. He eats. Delicious. Rice, carrots, spinach, simple food, human food. Not a porter's ration, not an energy bar from a backpack. Normal food at a normal table. He finishes it, thanks her. Ha-eun nods and leaves. Ethan returns to the plan and suddenly realizes what's wrong. He'd calculated the dungeon, calculated the bosses, calculated the timings, but he hadn't calculated the team. Not this team. He knows Ha-jin's timings from a single battle. He knows Ji-young's stats from her file. He's only seen Haley at the table. That's not enough. Catastrophically not enough. His skill works in dungeons, not with people. And his strategy only works if he knows people better than he knows the dungeon. He stands up. He walks over to Ha-jin. She's sitting on the floor in her room, sword on her lap, eyes closed. Meditating before the raid, Ethan knocks. She opens her eyes. He sits down across from her and starts asking questions. Not as an analyst, like a human, which is her dominant hand, right, but she parries more accurately with her left. Which stance does she prefer? Left. She doesn't like the right one. It leaves her right side too exposed. After how many consecutive hits does her speed drop? After 12. It gets critical after 18. What does she do when she panics? She doesn't panic. Never. Ethan looks her in the eyes. She looks back. Then she adds quietly. She freezes for half a second. When something reminds her of that raid, when a smell or a sound or a light resembles that day when her team was killed, she freezes for half a second. Half a second is nothing. Half a second is life or death. Ethan takes notes. Thanks her, goes to Ji-young, same questions. Spell radius, cast time, recoil, accuracy at different ranges. What distracts her? Ji-young thinks, then answers honestly. When people are dying nearby, she loses her concentration for 2 seconds, sometimes 3. Ethan takes notes. He goes to Haley. Haley is lying on the couch, feet up on the backrest. A bottle of water in her hand. She answers quickly. Accuracy at 200 meters, 99%. At 400, 97. Maximum rate of fire without loss of accuracy, 5 shots. After the 5th, her index finger starts to tremble. A micro tremor, imperceptible to the eye. But at a distance of 400 meters, that's a miss of 14 centimeters. Ethan takes notes. He returns to the table, opens the plan. Version 7. Erases it, starts version 8. Ha-jin never stands with her right side facing the boss. Ji-young finishes her active role by 3 o'clock. Haley fires a maximum of 4 shots in a row. If Ha-jin freezes for half a second, Ji-young automatically covers her with ice. If Ji-young loses concentration, Haley takes over her sector. Every weakness is covered by another team member. Every strength is amplified. This isn't a dungeon clearing plan. It's a plan to look after 3 women disguised as math. Ethan finishes the last line. He closes the tablet. He looks at his watch. 3 a.m. In 6 hours, they'll enter the dungeon. He lies down. He falls asleep in 10 seconds. He dreams of a black screen with white letters. Someone is writing him a message. The letters form a word: waiting. The gates of the B-rank distorted dungeon are glowing red, not blue like the usual ones, red. Ethan stands before them and feels a vibration in his chest. Not fear, not excitement, resonance. His skill is already working. Panels appear even before he enters, translucent, shimmering, as if a signal is breaking through the static. Dungeon, rank B, status, distorted, levels, 5, modification, active, modification type, unknown. Ethan reads the last line twice, modification type unknown. His ability can't determine exactly what has changed. Yet, he needs to go in, to see, to read from the inside. Scrappy and nearby are Ha-jin, Ji-young, Haley. 3 women and 1 porter in front of the red gates. The association's perimeter surrounds them, several reporters behind the fence. An official with a tablet. He checked their documents. Ha-jin, S rank, authorized. Ji-young, A rank, authorized. Haley. The documents are fake but well made. S rank, authorized. Ethan, F rank, porter. The official looked at him, then at Ha-jin, then back at Ethan. He asked seriously. Ha-jin replied that it was serious. The official shrugged. A porter is a porter, disposable. He signed the clearance. They enter. The world is changing. The air grows heavy, the light fades. In its place, a dim greenish glow from the walls. The smell of damp stone and something else. Something wrong. Ethan can't describe this smell. It smells like a mistake, as if someone had inserted a line of code that wouldn't compile, but the program still works. The skill flares up. A map unfolds in his mind. First floor, a long corridor, 3 rooms, rank C monsters, 12 of them, standard layout. No traps, no secret rooms, clean. He says aloud. First floor is standard, 12 mobs, rank C, 3 rooms, no traps. Ha-jin draws his sword. Ji-young raises his staff. A blue glow. Haley removes the cover from her rifle. The barrel is long, black. She drops to one knee, the scope to her eye. Ready. Ethan nods. Forward. First room. 4 monsters. Large beetles with chitinous shells. Rank C. Panels above each one. H, P. Phases. Weak points. Ethan reads them on the fly. The joint in the shell at the neck. 1 sword strike is enough, he tells Ha-jin. The neck. The joint. Ha-jin strikes. 1 blow. The beetle falls. Second strike. Second beetle. Third. Fourth. 4 beetles in 8 seconds. Haley doesn't have time to shoot. She lowers her rifle. She whistles. She says she now understands why Ha-jin is S rank. Second hall, 5 bugs, slightly larger, same tactic. Ha-jin leads. Ji-young freezes the floor in front of 2 bugs. They slip, lose their balance. Ha-jin finishes them off. Clean, fast. Third hall, 3 bugs. Ethan freezes at the entrance. Different panels, same bugs, S rank, but there's small text under the panel, modified, parameter, speed plus 40%. Ethan tells the team, stop, these are 40% faster. Not standard. Ha-jin stops. Her hand is on her sword. She waits. Ethan reads on. Higher speed, but the pattern is the same. The weak spot is the same. The joint at the neck. Just a window for a strike now. It used to be 1.5 seconds. Now it's 0.9, he says. Ha-jin, same spot, but the window is less than a second. 0.9. Ha-jin nods. For an S rank, 0.9 seconds is a luxury. She strikes. 3 bugs, 6 seconds. A little longer than before, but still clean. The first floor is cleared. Ethan stands in the last room and breathes. The skill works. It works even in a distorted dungeon, even on modified monsters. He sees the changes. He sees exactly what has changed. That means his theory is correct. Distortions aren't chaos. They're deliberate changes. Someone is taking standard mobs and tweaking their stats. Like a game designer on a test server, Ji-young approaches, asks quietly. He noticed it too. Modification, not a random mutation, a deliberate edit. Ethan nods. Ji-young takes off her glasses, wipes them, says one word, patch. Ethan looks at her, nods again. Yes, patch. Someone is patching the dungeons. They go down to the second floor. Ethan asks for 30 minutes. He needs to study the dungeon more thoroughly. The team takes up positions at the entrance. Hajin stands guard. Haley watches the corridor through her scope. Ji-young places ice markers along the perimeter. If anything crosses the line, the ice will crack. An alarm. Ethan sits on the floor. He closes his eyes. He immerses himself in the skill. The map expands. Second floor, third, fourth, fifth, outlines, hallways, halls, bosses. Each floor is clearer than the last, but the fifth is blurry, as if something is interfering. Interference. Ethan pushes deeper. His head starts to ache. A dull pain behind his eyes. A timer in his peripheral vision. Concentration drain. 12%. He's pushing it to the limit. Third floor. Boss. Stone golem. Rank B. Modified. Additional phase. Phase 4. Split. The golem splits into 6 small golems, each rank D. Phase duration, 30 seconds. Then reassembly. Weak point. Core. Remains stationary during the split. Core defense, 0. For 30 seconds, the core is completely defenseless. Ethan opens his eyes. He notes. Fourth floor. Boss. Shadow. Rank B+. Modified. Area of effect attack. Type. Mental wave. Radius 20 meters. Damage is non-physical. Will suppression. Wave duration 3 seconds. Cooldown between waves 12 seconds. Weakness. Source of the shadow behind the boss. Physical object. Crystal. Destroying the crystal kills the shadow. Ethan takes note. Smiles. Mental wave. Sounds scary, but a 12-second cooldown, that's an eternity. One shot from Haley will be enough. Fifth floor. Interference. Blurry. Ethan can only make out the outline of the hall. Large. Much larger than the previous ones. And something in the center. Not a monster. Not a boss. Something else. The panel is flashing. Object. Unidentified. Access restricted. Direct line of sight required. Ethan opens his eyes. Concentration level 29%. 30 minutes have passed like 3. His head is buzzing, but he has the data. Third floor, cleared. Fourth floor, cleared. Fifth, unknown. But he'll have 9 seconds. He stands up. The team is watching him. Ethan unfolds the plan. His voice is steady. Third floor, golem. It has 4 phases, not 3 as we thought. Fourth, division. 6 small golems. The core remains in the center. 30 seconds without protection. Hajin and Ji-young hold the small golems. Haley, 1 shot. At the core, you have 30 seconds. Haley smiles. She says 2 will be enough. Fourth floor, shadow. Mental wave. Will suppression for 3 seconds. Radius 20 meters. But a 12-second cooldown. Haley, the crystal behind the boss. 1 shot. Haley nods. Asks about the distance. Ethan answers. About 40 meters. Haley snorts. Says that's insultingly close. Fifth floor. Ethan is silent for a second. Then he says, I couldn't read him from a distance. Something's blocking it. I need to be inside. 9 seconds. Silence. Hajin says, 9 seconds it is. They go down to the third floor. The boss room. Massive doors. Runes. Light pulses behind them. Ethan stands behind the 3 women. His hands aren't shaking. Bye. Hajin pushes the doors. The golem stands in the center of the hall, 5 meters tall. Stone body. Runes on the surface. The panel above it unfolds before Ethan's eyes instantly. Stone golem. Rank B. HP 420,000. Phase 1. Melee. Hand strikes. Swing timing 1.8 seconds. Active hitbox 0.6. Phase 2. Stomp. Area stun. Radius 5 meters. Phase 3. Armor. Stone shell. Physical damage minus 70%. Duration 20 seconds. Phase 4. Separation. Ethan screams. Phase 1. Swing time, nearly 2 seconds. Active hitbox, 0.6. Attack between swings. Hajin is already on the move. She raises her hand faster than the golem. The sword cuts through the air. A blow to the joint on the right shoulder. Stone cracks. The golem roars, raises its left arm. Wind up, 1.8 seconds. Hajin steps back. She waits. A fist strikes the floor. Dust. A rumble. The hitbox passes. Hajin steps forward. Another strike. The crack widens. Ji-young stands 10 meters away, staff held out in front of him. Ice forms around the golem's legs, not to freeze it, to slow it down by 3%. That's enough. Haley is on the platform by the wall, rifle on the bipod, sight locked on the golem. She waits. The golem loses a third of its health. The panel flashes. Phase 2. Ethan yells. A thud. 5 meters. Everyone back. Hajin jumps back. The golem raises its leg. It strikes the floor. A shockwave. Dust. Rocks. A rumble. Ethan feels the vibration even from 15 meters away, but no one is within range. Everyone has moved out. Phase 2 lasts 10 seconds. 3 stomps. A 5-second cooldown after each one. Ethan counts aloud. Stomp. Cooldown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stomp. The team moves to his voice. Hajin steps in between the stomps. Strikes. Steps out. Another third of health. Panel. Phase 3. Armor. Ethan shouts. Stone armor. 20 seconds. Don't attack. Physical damage -70. Hajin retreats. The golem is covered in an extra layer of stone. Thick, heavy. It stands motionless. Defense. 20 seconds. Ji-young asks, "Can we use magic?" Ethan reads the panel. Magic damage, -20%, not -70, he says. Magic goes through, -20, hit it. Ji-young raises her staff. Icy spears form in the air, 5 of them. They fly. They slam into the golem. The stone armor cracks. It doesn't break, but it cracks. The golem roars. 20 seconds pass. The armor crumbles. The golem is at 20% health. The panel flashes red. Phase 4. Split, Ethan shouts. Now, split. 6 small ones. The core in the center. Haley, the core. The golem explodes. Not in the sense of fire. It disintegrates. The stone body shatters into 6 pieces. Each piece lands, rises. A small golem, rank D, a meter tall, fast, angry. 6 of them. They rush off in different directions. 2 at Hajin, 2 at Ji-young, 1 at Ethan, 1 toward the wall. But Ethan isn't looking at them. He's looking at the center, where the golem stood. The core, a red crystal, fist-sized, hanging in the air, pulsing, unprotected. 30 seconds. A shot. 1. A dry click. The bullet crosses the hall in a split second. The crystal shatters into fragments. Red dust. The small golems freeze. They fall. They crumble into stone. Silence. Haley lowers her rifle. She speaks. 1.5 seconds, not 2. The small golem that was running toward Ethan lies a meter from his feet, a pile of stone. Ethan looks at it. His heart is pounding very fast. He just nearly died. Again. Hajin approaches, checks on him, unharmed, safe, a little pale. Ji-young puts away his staff, says the tactic with the core was flawless. No team before them had seen the 4th phase because no team had survived to reach it with an understanding of what was happening. Ethan breathes. He logs it into his tablet. 3rd floor, cleared, 0 casualties. Time, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. For a B-rank boss, that's impossibly fast. They descend to the 4th floor. The corridor is narrow, darker than before. The glow on the walls is weaker. The air is colder. Ethan feels his skill working harder. The panels appear more slowly, with a delay. The interference intensifies. The distortion is stronger. The boss. Hall on the 4th floor. The doors are black. No runes. Smooth. Ethan reminds himself. Mental wave. Will suppression. 3 seconds. 12-second cooldown. Haley shoots the crystal behind the boss, 40 meters away, but he stops. The panel in front of the door flashes. Data is updating. He reads and grows cold. Modification detected. Area attack. Mental wave. Cooldown. It was 12 seconds. Now, 4. Ethan stands in front of the door. Cooldown. 4 seconds, not 12. Someone changed the parameters. Between the moment he scanned the boss on the 2nd floor and now, 40 minutes have passed. In those 40 minutes, someone edited the boss, reduced the cooldown by 3 times. Ji-young sees his face, asks what happened. Ethan says flatly, the boss has changed. The wave cooldown is now 4 seconds, not 12. Someone tweaked it while we were walking. Silence. Haley is the first to say what everyone is thinking. She asks, you mean tweaked? You mean someone is sitting there right now changing the rules? Ethan nods. Yes, right now, in real time, someone is watching them and tailoring the dungeon to them. The silence lasts 5 seconds. Then Hajin takes a step toward the door. She says that 4 seconds or 12, it's enough for them. Ethan does the math. 4 seconds of delay, minus 3 seconds for the wave, 1 second to act, 1 second of clear time between waves. Haley needs to aim and fire in 1 second, 40 meters away, at a crystal she hasn't seen. He looks at Haley. She smiles. She says 1 second will be enough, with room to spare. Ethan believes her. The door opens. The hall is huge, dark. In the center, a shadow. Not a metaphor, literally a shadow. 3-dimensional, black, formless. It flickers like a flame. A panel, a shadow. Rank B+, HP 180,000. Mental wave. Radius 20 meters. Cooldown 4 seconds. Crystal. Behind him. Distance from the entrance 42 meters. Ethan speaks quietly. Haley. 42 meters, right behind the shadow. The crystal is 2 meters high, black, glowing from within. Haley raises her rifle, scope to her eye. The shadow turns toward them. If the shadow has a front, a wave, Ethan feels it. Pressure on his brain. Not pain, a heaviness, as if someone had placed a concrete slab on his consciousness. Thoughts slow down. His body won't obey him. 3 seconds. He counts. 1, 2, 3. The pressure disappears. 1 second. Haley fires. The bullet vanishes into the darkness. A ringing sound. The crystal. A hit. But the crystal doesn't shatter. A crack. 1. Small. Ethan reads the panel. Crystal HP, 80%. 1 shot isn't enough. He needs 3. 3 shots in 3 windows, 1 second each. 3 seconds of mental suppression between them. He shouts, 3 shots, 3 windows, counting out loud. Wave, pressure, 3 seconds. Ethan counts. 1, 2, 3. Now, shot. A ringing sound, 60%. A wave, pressure, 1, 2, 3. Now, a shot. A ringing sound, 40%. 1 more. A wave. The pressure is stronger. Ethan feels his knees buckling. Hajin is beside him. She's holding his shoulder. Her hand is like a steel frame. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Now, shot. Ring. Crack. The crystal shatters. The shadow screams. A sound not of this world. The shadow spreads, melts, vanishes. Silence. Ethan is standing only because Hajin is holding him. His head is splitting. Concentration consumption, 51%. Half the reserve used over 4 floors. Half remains for the 5th. He notes it on his tablet. 4th floor, cleared. Casualties, 0. Time, 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Haley approaches. She shrugs, says that 3 shots in 3 seconds of pure time was fun. Ethan looks at her, says, thank you. Haley blinks. Then turns away, quickly. 5th floor, the last one. The doors are white, not black, not stone. White, smooth, like a screen. Ethan stands in front of them. The panel flickers. The interference is strong. He can see only one line. Access restricted. Line of sight required. He turns around. 3 women behind him. Hajin with a sword. Ji-young with a staff. Haley with a rifle. They made it through 4 floors without a scratch. According to his plan. According to his word. Ethan speaks. Behind that door is something I can't read from here. I need 9 seconds inside. 3 to read, 3 for the plan, 3 for the command. Give me 9 seconds. Hajin nods. She pushes the door. White light, white light. Ethan squints. The room is huge. The ceiling is out of sight. The walls are white. The floor is white. Everything is white. No monsters, no traps. In the middle of the room stands a desk, an ordinary office desk, black. On the desk is a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse, a chair, a water cooler nearby. Ethan blinks. 9 seconds. He starts counting. 1. The skill flares up. Panels appear. So many. Too many. They overlap. They flicker. Lines of code race across his peripheral vision. Not the code he's used to seeing in dungeons. Different. Deeper. As if someone had opened not a file, but the source code of the file system. 2. He reads, Object, Terminal, Type, Interface, Function, Data Input, Connection, Dungeon Core, Direct Connection. He reads on. Hall, Type, Control Room, Monsters, 0, Traps, 0, Boss, None. 3, No Boss, 5th floor with no boss, a terminal instead of a boss. Computer, in the middle of the dungeon. 4. Ethan looks at the terminal. The panel expands. New data. Terminal. Status. Active. Last action. Modification of level 4 creature parameters. Mental wave rollback. Change from 12 to 4 seconds. Timestamp. 41 minutes ago. 5. Ethan stops breathing. 41 minutes ago. That's when they were between the 3rd and 4th floors. Someone was sitting at this terminal and changing the boss's parameters. From here. From this room. 6. He reads on. Previous actions. The list is long. Modification of level 1 creatures. Speed plus 40%. Level 3 creature modification. Addition of Phase 4. Division. Level 4 creature modification. Addition of a mental wave. All changes. All distortions. Made from here. From this terminal. 7. Ethan turns to the team. His face is white. Hajin stands with his sword at the ready. Ji-young scans the room with his staff. Haley sweeps the corners with her sights. No one to hit. No one to fight. 8. Ethan speaks. No boss. No monsters. This is the control room. Someone was altering the dungeon from here. All distortions. All modifications. From here. 9. Silence. Hajin slowly lowers his sword. Ji-young takes off his glasses. Haley looks up from the scope. The 4 of them stand in a white room with an office desk and a water cooler, in a B-rank dungeon, on the 5th floor, where an entire team perished. Ethan approaches the terminal. Slowly, he counts every step. His instincts scan the floor. No traps. He sits down in a chair. The monitor screen is on. There is text on it. White letters on a black background, like a system window in the dark when he died. Ethan reads, "You're faster than I thought." His heart stops for a second. Then it beats again. He rereads it. "You're faster than I thought." A message. To him, personally. Someone knew he was coming. Someone was waiting. Someone left a message. Ethan looks at the keyboard. A standard keyboard. QWERTY. Dust on the keys, except for one, the spacebar. The spacebar is clean. Someone pressed it recently. He places his hands on the keyboard. His fingers tremble. Not from fear, from realization. He's in a basement, on the 5th floor, sitting at a computer, and he's about to reply to the one who opened the gates all over the world 20 years ago. Hajin approaches, stands behind him, reads the screen, remains silent. Ji-young approaches, reads. Her breathing quickens. Haley approaches, reads, says one word in English that Ethan won't repeat in front of Han. Ethan types his reply, slowly, with one finger. "Who are you?" Pause. The screen flickers. A new line appears, not instantly, letter by letter, as if someone is typing in real time. "The one who writes the rules." Ethan looks at the screen, fingers over the keyboard. He thinks for 3 seconds. Then he types, "Why did you open the gate?" A longer pause, 10 seconds, 15. A line appears. "So you could grow." Ji-young curses under his breath. Hajin grips the hilt of his sword. Haley aims her gun at the monitor. Reflex. Ethan doesn't move. He thinks. Grown up. Dungeons as a learning environment. Monsters as training opponents. Magic stones as motivation. Ranks as a reward system. 20 years, billions of people, thousands of dungeons. This isn't an invasion, it's training. He types, "Why do we need to grow?" The answer comes quickly. Because something is coming, and you aren't ready. Ethan leans back in his chair. His hands are sweaty. Something is coming. Dungeons aren't a threat. Dungeons are preparation for a threat. The real one, the one that hasn't arrived yet. He types the final question. Why me? Why did you give this to me? The longest pause, 30 seconds, a line. Because you're the only one who can read someone else's code. I need someone on your side who sees what I see. You see. The screen goes dark. The lights in the room flicker. The panel before Ethan's eyes flashes. Dungeon, status, cleared, reward, credited. The gates open in 60 seconds. Ethan stands up. The chair rolls away. His legs feel like jelly. Concentration level, 68%. His head is buzzing. His vision is blurry, but he stands. Ha-jin is beside him. Her hand is on his shoulder. An anchor. Ji-young is recording everything she saw on the screen into her phone. Her hands are shaking, but she's recording because she's a scientist. Data is more important than emotions. Haley is standing by the door, rifle on her shoulder, guarding the exit, out of habit, even though there's no one to guard against. The gates open. White light. The exit. They climb all 5 floors, quickly. The dungeon is cleared. The monsters aren't respawning. The corridors are empty. The exit. The sun. Air. Real air. Not dungeon air. Living air. Ethan steps out of the gate and sits down on the ground. He just sits down. His legs won't hold him. An official with a tablet runs toward them. The dungeon has been cleared. 4 people. 0 casualties. A distorted B-rank dungeon that devoured an entire team. 0 casualties. The official looks at them as if they were ghosts. Ha-jin gives his report. Briefly. No details. 5 floors. Cleared. Detailed report later. The official nods, takes notes. The 50 million won bonus will be transferred within 3 business days. Ethan sits on the ground. 50 million. 10 years worth of mom's insulin. 3 minutes ago, he was messaging with the being who created all the dungeons in the world. And now he's thinking about insulin. Haley sits down next to him. Silently, she pulls out a bottle of water, hands it to him. Ethan drinks. The water is cold, delicious, alive. Haley speaks softly, so softly that he can barely hear her. She says she wants to stay on the team, if he doesn't mind. Ethan looks at her. Haley isn't smiling. For the first time since they met, her face is serious, genuine, unguarded. Ethan nods. Haley nods back. She stands up. She holds out her hand to him. He takes it. She lifts him up in one smooth motion, easily, as if he weighs nothing. 3 days after the raid, Ha-jin's apartment. Evening. Ethan is sitting at the kitchen table with a tablet. A bank transfer is on the screen. 50 million won divided into 4 equal parts. 12.5 million each. Ha-jin said it was fair. Ji-young agreed. Haley said she didn't care about the money and that Ethan should take her share. Ethan refused. He divided it equally. But from his share, he transferred 3 million to the account of his former team of porters. The ones he'd hauled boxes with for 6 years. 5 men and 2 women. 400,000 each. A porter's monthly salary. Just like that. No explanation. He knows they won't understand, but he doesn't need them to understand. He needs that the next time one of them signs a waiver of claims against the S-rank underground, they'd had a good month. He transferred the rest to his mom for treatment. A new endocrinologist. A private clinic in Gangnam. The appointment is in a week. Mom cried when he told her. Ethan stood next to her, not knowing what to do with his hands. Then he hugged her. Awkwardly. He doesn't know how to hug. 6 years as a porter teach you to avoid unnecessary movements. Ha-eun came over and hugged them both. Small, warm. She smells like shampoo. 3 days. The world outside the apartment doesn't know what happened in the dungeon. Ha-jin submitted a report without details. 5 floors. Cleared. No casualties. Not a word about the terminal. Not a word about the messages on the screen. Not a word about who writes the rules. But the world knows otherwise. The world knows that the distorted B-rank dungeon that devoured an entire team was cleared by a 4-person squad in 2 hours. No casualties. The internet is exploding on the 2nd day. Someone from within the association's perimeter leaked the information. No details, just the fact. 4 people, 2 S ranks, 1 A rank, and 1 F rank. A porter. The forums are boiling. An F rank in a corrupted B rank dungeon. It's impossible. It's a mistake in the report. It's fake. Someone finds footage from the perimeter cameras. 4 people enter the gate. 4 come out. Ethan's face is visible in the footage. Skinny, no armor, just a regular jacket. A porter's backpack. Someone zooms in on his badge. F rank, porter, 3rd raid. The video racks up 2 million views in a day. Comments. Who is this guy? Why is an S-rank swordswoman dragging a porter around with her? He's her boyfriend. No, he's the guild director's son. No, he's a secret hunter. No, it's a mistake. He's actually A rank. Ethan reads the comments, not because he wants to, because Ha-eun is showing him her phone screen with an excited look on her face. She says he already has a fan club, 200 people. The name? The Secret Strategist. Ethan asks her to put her phone away. Ha-eun doesn't. Day 3. Phone calls. The first call at 9 in the morning. The Scarlet Lotus Guild. The guildmaster's secretary. A polite voice. They're asking if Park Ethan would like to discuss opportunities for cooperation. Ha-jin picks up the phone. She says no. She hangs up. Second call at 10. Steel Fang Guild. Same question. Ha-jin says no. Third call at 11. Fourth at 12. By evening, 16 calls. 16 guilds. Everyone wants to talk to the porter who made it through the twisted dungeon. Ha-jin changes his phone number. Ethan sits at the table and thinks. 16 guilds in a single day. Information spreads fast. Too fast. If the guilds are calling, then the association knows too. If the association knows, then the government knows. If the South Korean government knows, then the governments of other countries know. The Japanese Amaterasu Guild, the American Aegis, the European ones, the Chinese ones, they'll all want one thing, him. Not as a person, as a tool, a skill that reads dungeons. In a world where dungeons mutate and kill S-rankers, this skill is worth more than any fighter. Ethan closes his laptop. He looks at Ha-jin. She's standing by the window. Her back is straight. Her arms are crossed. She's thinking the same thing. Ethan speaks. We need a team, not 4 people, 6. We need a healer. We need someone to handle the politics. Ha-jin nods. She says she knows a healer, young, 19 years old, a guildmaster. It sounds like a joke, but she's serious. Park Yuna, rank A, healer, the youngest guildmaster in Korean history. Her guild, Crescent Moon, is on the verge of bankruptcy. She needs one fooled raid to stay afloat. Ethan asks about the politics. Ji-young raises her hand. She says she has a contact. Not just a contact. Princess Lee Sora-young, heir to a symbolic imperial family, the face of the Hunters Association. B rank, with the diplomacy skill, a literal skill, increases the chance of successful negotiations. Ethan looks at Ji-yeon. He asks if she's serious. Ji-yeon replies that she couldn't be more serious. Sora-yeon is looking for exactly these kinds of people. Independent, outside the system, capable of changing the rules. Ethan counts in his head. Ha-jin, S rank, swordswoman, frontline. Haley, S rank, sniper, long-range damage. Ji-young, A rank, mage, control. Yuna, A rank, healer, support. Sora-yeon, B rank, diplomat, cover. Ethan, F rank, strategist. 6 people, not the strongest team. Far from it. Top guilds have dozens of S ranks. They have 6, and one of them has 0 mana. But if his skill works like it did in that dungeon, if he can read the mechanics in real time, if the team follows his plan, then 6 is enough. Then 6 is even too many, because every extra person is a variable, and Ethan doesn't like variables. Ha-jin calls Yuna. The conversation is brief. Yuna will arrive tomorrow. Ji-yeon texts Sora-yeon. A reply comes a minute later. The princess is free the day after tomorrow. Evening, the apartment. Ha-jin is sharpening his sword. Ji-yeon is reading printouts of distortion data from the past year. Haley is sleeping on the couch. She's snoring, quietly, like a cat. Ethan's mom is making dinner. Ha-eun is helping, cutting vegetables, counting portions. 6 people. She's used to it by now. Ethan stands by the window. He looks at Seoul. Somewhere out there, beyond the skyscraper's glass, beyond the neon signs, beyond the billboards with heroes' faces, someone is writing code, making the rules, increasing the difficulty, and waits for Ethan to arrive, because something is coming. And they aren't ready. Ethan turns away from the window, sits down at the table, opens his tablet. A new file, title, Project Strategist, Team, Goals, Tasks. He begins to write. Goal 1, assemble a team of 6 people, deadline, 1 week. Goal 2, close the second distorted dungeon, rank A. Prove that the first success was no accident, deadline, 1 month. Goal 3, convince the association that the distortions are systemic, that someone is creating them, that the dungeons are not a natural phenomenon but a construction, deadline, 3 months. Goal 4, Find the root server, the place from which everything is controlled. Time frame. He doesn't know, but he'll find it. Ethan saves the file. Outside the window, Seoul is falling asleep. The lights are going out one by one. Only the gates are burning, constantly, around the clock, for 20 years. Loading screens. For the first time, Ethan thinks of them exactly that way, not as portals, not as a threat, as doors. Doors that someone opened, and that someday, someone will close. Or open wider. Park Yuna shows up at Hajin's apartment at 8 in the morning, without warning, without a call, just a ring at the door. Hajin opens it. On the threshold stands a girl 5 feet 5 inches tall, 2 pigtails, a backpack with a crescent-shaped keychain, round cheeks. She looks like a high schooler who's come to a friend's birthday party, but her eyes are different. The eyes of someone who hasn't slept more than 4 hours a day for a year. The eyes of someone who's single-handedly running a guild of 30 people. The eyes of someone who buried her father and has no right to stop. Yuna steps inside. She looks around the apartment. She sees Hajin by the window with a sword on her lap. She sees Jian at the table with printouts. She sees Haley on the couch with a bottle of water. She sees Ethan at the laptop. She stops at Ethan. She stares for 3 seconds. Then she says he's smaller than she imagined. Ethan is used to it. Everyone expects someone bigger, someone who looks like a hero, but what they get is a skinny guy with red eyes. Yuna sits down at the table, without being invited. She pulls a folder out of her backpack, a thick one. She places it in front of Ethan. She says these are the Crescent Moon Guild's reports for the last 6 months. Finances, raids, losses, profits, everything. She wants Ethan to look them over and tell her straight up whether the guild can be saved or if it's time to shut it down. Ethan takes the folder, opens it, reads. Numbers flash before his eyes. No skill is needed here. What's needed here is that junior analyst from Pangyo who spent 3 years crunching the numbers. The guild's revenue, 80 million won a month. Expenses, 110 million. A deficit of 30 million every month. The reason, inefficient raid allocation. Teams are going into dungeons that aren't suitable for them. B-rank hunters go into C-rank dungeons because they're afraid to take risks. A-rankers are sitting idle because there's no coordinator. Loot is sold through middlemen who take 20%. Ethan reads for 20 minutes. Yuna sits across from him. She doesn't move. She's waiting for the verdict. Hajin watches. Ethan closes the folder. He looks at Yuna. He speaks. The guild can be saved. The problem isn't the people. The problem is the routing. Yuna blinks. She asks what he means. Ethan explains. Her B-rank hunters are going into dungeons that require skills they don't have. One fire mage goes into a dungeon with fire-resistant mobs. It's useless. Another tank goes into a dungeon without narrow corridors where his shield doesn't work. 2 healers are going on the same raid when 1 would be enough. And the third team is going without a healer at all. Yuna listens. Her eyes widen with every sentence. Ethan continues. If we restructure the raid schedule, redistribute people across the dungeons, cut out the middlemen and sell the loot directly, the shortage will disappear in a month. Profits will double in 3 months. He picks up his tablet. He opens the spreadsheet he put together in 20 minutes. The Crescent Moon Guild's new raid schedule for the next quarter. Each team in a dungeon that suits them specifically. Every hunter in a position where their skills are most effective. Yuna takes the tablet. She reads. She flips through the pages. She goes back. She rereads. 5 minutes later, she looks up. Her eyes are wet. She isn't crying, but she's close. She says her father ran the guild on intuition. He knew every hunter personally, remembered their weaknesses and strengths. After his death, Yuna tried to do the same, but she isn't her father. She can't keep 30 people in her head. Ethan says she doesn't have to. That's what the spreadsheets. Yuna is silent. Then she stands up. She bows, deeply, sincerely. She says she'll go with them, anywhere, anytime. Ethan says she should sleep first. She looks like she hasn't slept in a week. Yuna opens her mouth to object. Ha-un is already standing next to a blanket and a pillow. He leads Yuna to the couch. Yuna tries to resist. Ha-un says that in this apartment, they sleep for at least 6 hours. It's a rule. Yuna falls asleep in 3 minutes. She wakes up 8 hours later, for the first time in a year. Ethan knows because he didn't sleep either. He rewrote the raid schedule twice, improving it. The next day, Princess Lee Soda-young, she doesn't come to the apartment. She invites them to the garden, a private one, behind the wall of the palace complex in central Seoul. A black car picks up Ethan and Ji-young at the entrance. The driver is in a suit, tinted windows. Ethan sits in the back seat and estimates the car's value. 120 million won, at least, 50 times his annual salary as a porter. The garden, trees, silence, stone paths, a pond with koi. Soda-young sits at a table under a canopy. A simple dress, white, hair down to her shoulder blades. She looks fragile, like a porcelain figurine, but Ethan notices the details. Her back is perfectly straight, her hands rest on the table, palms down. Control. Every gesture is measured, every movement deliberate. 22 years of training. Being a princess is a job, full-time, no days off. Soda-young stands up. She greets them. Her voice is soft, a gesture toward the chairs. Sit down. There are 3 cups on the table. Tea, green tea for Ji-young, oolong for herself. For Ethan, he looks at the cup, Americano. She knows what he drinks. She did some digging. Ethan sits down. Ji-young sits down. The conversation begins. Soda-young says she's been following the raid in Gyeonggi-do, not from the news, from the association's internal reports. She saw Hajin's full report, saw the data on the timing of the sweep. She saw the camera footage. 4 people, 2 hours, 0 casualties. A distorted dungeon. She says that doesn't happen. Ethan replies that it happens now. Soda-young smiles, a small smile, polite. The princess doesn't smile broadly. She asks what Ethan needs. Ethan thinks for 3 seconds, then he answers directly. He needs protection. Political, legal, media. 16 guilds have already called. Soon they'll stop calling and start coming. Then they'll stop coming and start taking. He needs someone to stand between him and the whole world. Sorayan listens. She nods. She says she can provide that, but she has a condition. She wants to know everything, not part of it, everything. What he sees in the dungeons, how his skill works, what he found on the 5th floor. Ethan looks at Ji-young. Ji-young nods. Ethan tells her everything. The terminal, the messages, someone on the other side, the patches, the dungeons as a training environment. Something is happening, and they aren't ready. Sorayan listens without interrupting. Her expression doesn't change. Control. But Ethan notices one detail. Her right pinky finger is trembling, barely noticeable. The only sign that the Princess of Korea has just learned that humanity has been living on a training ground. Sorayan is silent for 30 seconds. Then she says she's going with them, not as a patron, as a team member. Ethan asks why. Sorayan answers, because if he's right, if the dungeons are preparation, then someone has to prepare not just the hunters. Someone has to prepare the people, the country, the world. That's her job. She's been trained for this for 22 years. Ethan nods. Then he does something he hadn't planned. He asks what kind of tea she likes, not what she's supposed to have, what she likes. Sorayan freezes. For 3 seconds, she blinks. Then she says quietly, "Barley, cold, from the vending machine." Ethan stands up, finds a vending machine in the hallway behind the garden, buys a cold barley tea in a can, brings it back, sets it down in front of her. Sorayan takes the can with both hands, looks at it, then drinks. A small sip, closes her eyes, opens them, and for the first time, she smiles genuinely. 3rd month. The strategist team works like a well-oiled machine. 3 raids in a month, all successful, no casualties. First raid, a distorted B-rank dungeon in the south of the country. Aquatic, flooded corridors, amphibious monsters. 2 guilds had retreated to it. Ethan mapped the dungeon in 40 minutes. Found air pockets not marked on the map. Found the boss's weakness. A 20-meter-long water serpent, gills on its neck. Phase 2. The serpent comes ashore. On land, its speed drops by 60%. A 4-second window. Hajin struck the gills with a single blow. Clean hit. Second raid. Distorted B+. Forest. Monster trees. Roots underground. Ethan spotted the root network before the team entered the first chamber. He rerouted them. They bypassed 3 traps. Boss. Ancient oak. 6 phases. Ethan read all 6 in 10 seconds. A record. Haley knocked down 3 branches with a single shot. Ji-young froze the root system. Yuna held a protective dome over the team as the oak brought the ceiling crashing down. Third raid, first distorted A-rank dungeon. The association's commission watched from the monitors. Sorayon secured access. Her skill, diplomacy, literally. She speaks and people agree. Not control magic, not subjugation. Increased probability by 10%. Sometimes that's enough. Ethan entered the A-rank dungeon and felt the skill resisting for the first time. The panels appeared more slowly, with glitches. The letters trembled. Some lines were blurred. The distortion was stronger than in B ranks, by a lot, but he read it, slower, with a headache, with blood from his nose that he wiped away with his sleeve. An A-rank boss, the Stone Knight, 7 phases. The final phase, invisibility. The knight vanishes for 10 seconds, strikes from invisibility. No team before them knew what to do. Ethan knew. Invisibility hides the body, not the shadow. Haley shot at the shadow on the floor. 4 shots, 4 hits, not a single miss. The knight fell. The video leaked online the next day. Someone from the association's commission recorded it on their personal phone. 7 million views in 2 days. The video shows Ethan standing behind the team, skinny, in a light jacket, unarmed, with a tablet in his hands. He says one word, down. Haley shoots at the floor. The knight appears, falls, comments, 100,000. Half are enthusiastic, a quarter are hateful, a quarter are questions. Who is he? How does he do it? Why is an F rank commanding S ranks? An anti-fan club appears the same day. 3,000 people. The name, the fake strategist. They believe Ethan is a fraud, that the videos are staged, that guilds are paying him for PR, that the real strategist is someone else, and Ethan is just a front for the cameras. The fan club is growing too. 10,000. The secret strategist. They collect every video, every screenshot, every rumor. They build theories. Someone figured out his school. Someone found his old profile on a game dev forum. 3 years ago, Ethan wrote a post about boss balance in a mobile MMO. The fan club dissects the post line by line. They find parallels with his tactics in dungeons. Ethan finds out about this from Haeun. She shows him screenshots from the forum. Ethan asks her to stop reading the internet. Haeun doesn't stop. Month 3, the end. The evening after the 3rd raid. The apartment. Everyone is exhausted. No one is talking. Hajin is sitting on the couch, eyes closed, wrist bandaged. Not an injury. Fatigue. 3 raids in a month is a lot, even for a S rank. Ji-young is on the floor, back against the wall, glasses on her forehead, eyes closed. A staff nearby. Haley is in a chair, feet on the coffee table, head tilted back, snoring. Yuna is on a kitchen stool. Her head is on the table. Her arms hang down. She's been healing the team for 3 hours straight. Her mana is at 0. Sorayon left an hour ago. Black car. Report to the association. She's the only one who can't afford a break. Haeun is sitting next to Yuna, stroking her head, quiet, like a cat. Ethan looks at them, at everyone. Then he silently goes into the kitchen, returns 40 minutes later. A tray. For Hajin, ramen without an egg. She's allergic. No one ever remembered. He remembers. For Ji-young, coffee with exactly 2 ice cubes. She mentioned it once. He heard. For Haley, a burger. She once reminisced about a place back in her native Texas. He found a copycat spot in Itaewon, ordered delivery. For Yuna, chamomile tea and a headache pill. She always drinks it after getting stressed. He noticed on the 2nd day they met. For Haeun, strawberry milk and a comic book. The 7th volume of the series she'd been looking for 2 weeks. He found it in a store near the subway station on his way home. Ethan sets the tray on the table, silently, hands it out. Silently, he sits down, unfolds his tablet. Haley looks at the burger first, then at Ethan, then covers her face with her hands. Her shoulders are shaking. She isn't crying. Haley Carter isn't crying, but her shoulders are shaking. Hajin looks at the ramen. No egg. She looks up at the ceiling. For a long time. Ji-young takes a coffee, 2 ice cubes, exactly 2, takes off her glasses, wipes her eyes. Yuna looks at the chamomile tea, then at the pill, then at Ethan. Her lips are trembling. Haeun opens the comic book, volume 7, that very one, presses it to her chest. No one says a word. Silence, warm, like a blanket. Ethan opens his tablet. He speaks. Right, tomorrow's plan. I did the math. Will be done in an hour and 40 minutes if everything goes according to schedule. Hajin, you're not going to the front lines tomorrow. Your wrist. Ji-young will cover for you on the first floor. Haley moves from position 3 to position 5. The view is 8% better there. Yuna, your mana will be restored by morning, but I'm putting you on the second line. No emergency healing for the first 2 floors. We're conserving resources. He continues, his voice is steady, calm, a routine briefing, as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't remembered the allergy and the 2 ice cubes and the comic book and the burger from Texas. Hajin looks at him for a long time. Then he picks up his chopsticks and starts eating ramen without a word. Everyone starts eating without a word. Ethan speaks. He looks at his tablet. He's planning tomorrow's route, and he doesn't notice that the 5 people in this room are all looking at him the same way, with an expression that has no name, one that's more than gratitude, more than respect, one that comes closest to the word home. Kang Do-yeon appears in the 6th month, not in person. First through a screen, a press conference, live broadcast, all channels. Do-yeon stands behind the podium, a white suit, perfect hair, a smile for 40 million subscribers. He announces that he will personally lead the cleanup of that very S-rank corrupted dungeon. That very one, the one that destroyed the White Tiger team a year ago. 6 S-rankers, including the swordsman Do-yeon called a friend. Ethan watches the broadcast in the kitchen. Hajin is beside him. Her face is stony. That dungeon killed her team, her friends, the people she was responsible for. And now Do-yeon is going there, with a camera, with journalists, with PR. Ethan switches to full screen. He listens. Do-yeon speaks eloquently. He always speaks eloquently. His voice is confident. His gestures are precise. He speaks of duty, of remembrance, of how Korea does not retreat. The crowd applauds. Ethan looks at the screen and sees something else. He sees data. He spent 2 nights analyzing that legendary raid Do-yeon led 3 years ago. The raid in which Do-yeon became a hero. The association's open data, timings, maps, survivors' reports. And Ethan sees what no one else saw, because no one was looking. The raid 3 years ago, 12 people, an S-rank dungeon, Do-yeonor, the raid leader, 3rd floor, a fork in the road. The left path is longer but safer. The right is shorter but full of traps. Do-yeon led them right. The report says he chose the quick route to save time for the final boss. But Ethan did the math. If they'd gone left, it would have taken 20 minutes longer. The team would have reached the boss with full mana, with full health, without casualties. Do-yeon saved 20 minutes and lost 6 people. Not because the boss was invincible, because the team reached him exhausted, worn out, with empty potions. Do-yeon didn't lose because he was weak. Do-yeon lost because he was impatient, and 6 people paid for his impatience with their lives. Ethan wrote a report about it, a detailed one, with a timeline, with an alternative route, with probability calculations. Sorayon published it through the association's channels, not in Ethan's name, in the name of the analytics department, but everyone knew who the author was, because no one but Ethan writes reports like that. The report went viral, 20 million views. Headlines: Do-yeon's legendary raid was a mistake. 6 people died because of the wrong route. National hero or national disgrace. Do-yeon lost 3 million subscribers in a week. 2 advertising contracts were terminated. The association launched an internal investigation. Do-yeon didn't forgive them, and now he stands behind the podium, announcing a raid on that very dungeon. And Ethan knows why. Not for the sake of remembrance, it's for revenge. Do-yeon wants to prove he's still a hero, that the report is lying, that an F-rank porter has no right to judge an S-rank. Hajin cuts the broadcast. She's silent. Then she speaks. This is our dungeon. We've been preparing for it. Ethan nods. They've been preparing for 4 months. Analysis, data, simulations. This S-rank distorted dungeon was the strategist team's next target, and Do-yeon just announced that he'll go in first. Ethan thinks for 2 days. On the 3rd day, he tells the team they're going together, not instead of Do-yeon, together with him. Haley asks why. Ethan explains, if Do-yeon goes alone, he'll die, or lose people, like 3 years ago. And this time, the myth that S-rank dungeons are invincible will die with him. And that myth is necessary. People need to believe that someone is protecting them. Ethan doesn't want to destroy Do-yeon. He wants to prevent him from destroying himself. Sorayon organizes it. Her skill, diplomacy. 2 days of negotiations with the association. The result? A joint operation. Doyeon's team, 17 people. The strategist's team, 6 people. Simultaneous entry, joint coordination. Raid leader, Doyeon. Strategic support, Ethan. Doyeon is furious. Ethan knows. Soren relayed the message. Doyeon called Ethan a parasite, said the porter would sit at the entrance and not get in the way. Ethan wasn't offended. He's used to such words. 6 years. Raid day. The gates of an S-rank distorted dungeon. Huge. 10 meters tall. Red. Pulsating. 20 or so people in front of the gates. Cameras. Journalists. Live broadcast. All of Korea is watching. Doyeon stands in front. White armor. A sword on his back. He turns toward the camera. Smiles. Then turns to Ethan. The smile fades. He speaks quietly so the cameras can't hear. That Ethan won't be giving orders to his men. That if Ethan opens his mouth in battle, Doyeon will silence him. Ethan looks at him, calmly. Then he nods. Hajin behind him grips the hilt of his sword. Haley releases the safety, unnoticed. A reflex. They enter. An S-rank dungeon. A different scale. 30-meter ceilings, corridors like boulevards. The air is heavy, thick. It smells of metal and something alive. Ethan's skill flares up at the entrance. Then it chokes. Too much data. Panels overlap. They flicker. Lines of code race by faster than he can read them. 10 floors. S-rank monsters. Bosses with phases he's never seen before. Distortions on every floor. Not just one. Several. The parameters shift on the fly. Someone on the other side knows they've entered. Someone is writing the code right now. Ethan presses his temples. He focuses. He cuts out the excess. Only the first floor. Only the next 300 meters. Only what's needed right now. Doyeon's team leads the way through the first 3 floors. 17 S and A rank hunters. Power. Pure, raw power. Monsters fall, walls shake, magic flies in all directions. Ethan follows behind with his team, observing, recording, counting. His panels work even on monsters killed by others. He sees what Doyeon doesn't see. On the second floor, a secret room with an artifact. Doyeon walked right past it. On the third, a trap that activates with a 10-minute delay. Doyeon didn't notice, and Tan noticed. He disarmed it, silently. Fourth floor, first problem, boss. A giant scorpion, S-rank. Doyeon's team attacks, standard tactics. Tanks hold the front line, mages strike from a distance. Swordsmen flank the sides. Doyeon is in the lead. His sword glows gold. Skill. Holy blade. S-rank skill. One strike. The scorpion loses a quarter of its health. Impressive. But Ethan sees something else. The scorpion's panel. Phase 2. Trigger. HP below 70%. Action. Tail. Poisonous. 15-meter radius. No antidote. 100% lethality. One tail strike and everyone within the radius is dead. Doyeon doesn't know. His team attacks. The scorpion is at 75%, 73, 71. Ethan yells, "Stop, everyone back, 15 meters. Doyeon doesn't hear him, or doesn't want to hear him. 70%. The scorpion screeches. Its tail rises. Ethan calculates the radius, 15 meters. 4 of Doyeon's people are in the blast zone. Doyeon is in the blast zone. Ethan shouts again. Hajin. Hajin is already running. She's the fastest in this cave. S-rank, swordswoman. She grabs the nearest hunter and throws him out of the zone. The second, the third, the tail swings down. Jiyeon raises a wall of ice between the tail and the fourth hunter. Ice half a meter thick. The tail pierces it like paper, but loses speed. For a split second, Haley shoots. At the tail's joint, that's the weak spot. Ethan saw it. He said so a second before the shot. The bullet hits the joint. The tail twitches, swerves to the right, past the fourth hunter, by centimeters. Yuna is already there. A healing dome. A golden glow. Doyeon's hunter lies on the floor, alive, unharmed, in shock. Doyeon stands 20 meters away. His face is pale. He understands. He just nearly killed 4 people. Again. Just like 3 years ago. Same scenario, same mistake, impatience. An attack without reconnaissance, without analysis, without understanding the mechanics. Ethan approaches him, quietly, calmly, 23 pairs of eyes on them. Ethan speaks. Scorpion, phase 2 at 70%. Tail, venomous, 15-meter radius, no antidote. You have to take out the tail before its HP drops below 70. The tail detaches with a precise hit to the third segment. Window after the claw swings, 2 seconds. Doyon listens. His jaw is clenched. He doesn't want to listen to the porter. Every word from Ethan is a blow to his pride. But 4 of his men just nearly died, and the porter saved them. Doyon silently turns around, raises his sword, waits for the claw swing. Swing, 2 seconds. Doyon strikes. The third segment of the tail, the holy blade. The tail flies off. It falls to the floor. It twitches. The scorpion screeches. Without its tail, it's no longer dangerous. The others finish it off in a minute. Doyon stands over the scorpion's body. He doesn't turn around. He doesn't thank him. He doesn't look at Ethan. But he doesn't interfere. 5th floor, 6th, 7th. Ethan leads both teams. Formally, Doyon is in command. In reality, every order Doyon gives is a retelling of what Ethan told him a minute earlier, quietly, in his ear, so no one sees. So Doyon can save face in front of the cameras, because Ethan doesn't need the glory. Ethan needs 23 people to get out alive. 8th floor, 9th. 0 casualties. Everyone's alive. Everyone's unharmed, thanks to a skinny guy in a light jacket who says one word and the room falls silent. 10th floor, final boss. The doors are huge, black with gold. The runes pulsate. Ethan stands before them, skill at its limit. Concentration consumption, 82%. His head is splitting. Blood from his nose has dried on his upper lip. He reads, final boss, Dark Knight, SS rank, minus, almost SS. 9 phases. 9. No boss he's seen before had more than 7. The panels unfold, slowly, with glitches. He reads the first 5 phases. The 6th is blurry. The 7th is unreadable. The 8th and 9th, empty. Nothing. Too deep. Too much distortion. His skill can't handle it. Ethan closes his eyes. He thinks. 5 phases out of 9. He knows the first half of the battle, not the second. For the first time in the team's history, strategist Ethan can't provide a complete plan. He opens his eyes, turns to the team, his own, 6 people. Hajin, Ji-young, Haley, Yuna, Soreon with her phone at the ready. Haeyoon is watching the broadcast at home. He speaks. I see 5 phases out of 9. I'll read the remaining 4 in battle. Silence. Hajin nods, without a word. Haley nods. Ji-young nods. Yuna nods. They trust him, not his skill. Him. The doors open. The Dark Knight stands in the center of the hall, 5 meters tall, black armor, a sword the size of a lamppost. 23 people enter. The battle begins. The first 5 phases go according to Ethan's plan. Doyon's team is in the lead. Ethan's team is on the flanks. Hajin strikes the windows Ethan calls out. Haley shoots at weak spots. Ji-young controls the battlefield. Yuna heals. Soreon coordinates communications. Ethan speaks, quietly, calmly, 1 word at a time. Left, shield, back, 3 seconds. Now. The knight drops to half health, phase 6. Ethan watches. The panel flickers, data appears. Slowly, letter by letter. Phase 6. The knight teleports, every 4 seconds. New position, teleport attack. 1 second window. Ethan shouts the coordinates. The knight teleports. Hajin is already there. Strikes. The knight teleports. Haley shoots. Hit. Phase 7. The knight summons copies. 10 of them. 1 real. The panel flashes. Ethan sees it. Third from the left. He shouts. Third. Hajin strikes. Phase 8. The knight absorbs the copies. Growing. 7 meters. 10. The ceiling cracks. Ethan reads. The panel is barely visible. Interference. Noise. 1 line. Core. In the chest. Access via an attack from below. Ethan shouts. Down. Hajin doesn't understand. Doyon doesn't understand. 23 people are staring at the boss, whose head is pressed against the ceiling. Down, Ethan shouts again. The floor. Attack the floor beneath him. Hajin strikes the floor. The sword sinks into the stone. The floor collapses. The knight loses his balance, falls to one knee, chest level for the strike. Hajin, Jiyoung, Haley, all three at once. Sword, ice spear, bullet, 3 blows to the chest. The core shatters. The knight freezes, falls. But Phase 9, Ethan sees it. The panel flashes. Red, 1 line. Phase 9, self-destruct, 100-meter radius. Timer, 10 seconds. Ethan yells, "Everyone to the exit, now." 23 people are running. Ethan stands still. His legs won't move. Concentration depletion, 98%. His body is shutting down. Hajin turns around, sees, runs back, grabs him, throws him over his shoulder, runs toward the exit. An explosion, light, a crash. The ceiling collapses behind them. Dust, darkness, silence. Then voices. Everyone is alive. All 23. Hajin is lying on the floor. Ethan is on top of her. She shielded him with her body. Her back is covered in dust. Her armor is cracked, but she's unharmed. Ethan is unharmed. Everyone is unharmed. He lifts his head. System window. Dungeon. Status. Cleared. S-rank distorted dungeon. The very one. The one that killed 6 S-ranks a year ago. Cleared. 0 casualties. Ethan lies back down on the floor. He closes his eyes. He hears Haley laughing, Yuna crying, Ji-young cursing quietly, Du-young staying silent. Hajin lies next to him. She doesn't get up. She's breathing, steadily. Her hand finds his, squeezes it, once, tightly, then lets go. 3 days after the raid, Ethan has been sleeping for 36 hours, non-stop. His body has shut down. His brain has shut down. 98% concentration drain is nearly death for his ability. Ha-eun sits beside him, changes the towel on his forehead. Ethan's mom brings broth. Hajin stands in the doorway every 2 hours, checks on him, leaves, returns. At 37, Ethan opens his eyes. The ceiling, white, a crack in the corner. No, a different ceiling, a different crack. This isn't his old apartment in Quanok. This is the guest room in Hajin's apartment. This is his home. New, real. He sits up. His head is buzzing, but quietly, bearably. A glass of water on the nightstand, a pill, a note. Ha-eun's handwriting. Drink this, then eat, then work. Ethan drinks. He eats the broth his mom left. He gets up. He goes to the kitchen. 3 in the morning. The kitchen light is on. Hajin. She's sitting at the table, a tablet in front of her. On the screen, a map of that raid. An S-rank one. 10 floors. She's replaying the battle, just like back then, a year and a half ago, every night. Only now she's replaying not the raid where her team died. She's replaying this one, where everyone survived. Ethan sits down across from her, silently. Hajin doesn't look up. Then she speaks softly. She's thinking about Phase 9, self-destruction. 10 seconds. If only she hadn't turned around. If only she hadn't seen him standing there. If only she'd run for the exit like everyone else. Ethan is silent. Then he speaks. But you did turn around. Hajin looks up. Her eyes are wet. She says she turned around because she was counting on him. Not the dungeon, not the boss, not the exit. Him. She knew where he was standing every second of every battle, because he stands at the center of it all. Without him, they're just strong people with swords and magic. With him, they're a team. Ethan doesn't know what to say. He opens his mouth, closes it, then does what he does best, picks up the tablet, opens the map of that old raid, where Hajin's team died a year and a half ago. He points it out, calmly, quietly, like at a daily stand-up. You had no choice here. There was no information here. The system lied here. The route shown on the association's maps was wrong. The trap that killed 2 people wasn't registered. The boss had a phase that wasn't in the database. You didn't kill them. You did everything you could with the data you had. Hajin looks at the map, at Ethan's red markings, at the alternative routes that didn't that day, at the proof that she is not to blame, which she has been waiting for a year and a half. She cries, quietly, silently. Tears stream down her cheeks. She doesn't wipe them away. Ethan stands up. He puts the kettle on, waits, pours tea, sets it in front of her, sits back down. He is silent. Hajin drinks her tea. Her hands are shaking. The cup clinks against the saucer, but she drinks and breathes. And for the first time in a year and a half, the kitchen at 3 in the morning smells not of insomnia, but of tea. The next 2 weeks. The world changes. The video from the S-rank dungeon is viewed 100 million times. You can see everything in the recording. How Ethan yells, "Stop," and saves Do-young's people from the scorpion's tail. How he shouts, "Down," and the team attacks the floor. How he stands motionless with his eyes closed and blood streaming from his nose, and how Hajin runs back after him. The world sees it. The Korean Association officially creates a position, Chief Raid Strategist. The first in history, the only one. For Ethan, Sarayon organized it. For weeks, her skill, diplomacy. 10% chance of success. Sometimes 10% decides everything. Do-yeon is silent. 2 weeks. Then, in the 3rd week, she sends Ethan an envelope. Inside is a single photograph, a group photo of his old team, 12 people, 6 of whom are dead. On the back, a single line. "You were right." Ethan puts the photo in his desk drawer, doesn't show it to anyone. This isn't a victory, it's a scar, someone else's. Month 12. Ethan is sitting in the team's headquarters. Hajin's former apartment, now an office. 3 rooms, whiteboards on the walls, tablets, screens. Ha-eun handles the accounting. Her title, Chief Operating Officer of the Strategist Team. Her salary is higher than her sister's. Ethan brought her a laptop with an open job listing one of the first weeks. She couldn't speak for 2 days. Ethan's mom lives in a new apartment nearby, a private clinic, a new endocrinologist, insulin for the next 10 years. She calls every evening, asks how things are going. Ethan says fine, but now it's true. A year. In a year, Ethan has cleared 11 distorted dungeons, 4 B rank, 5 A rank, 2 S rank, 0 casualties, not a single scratch, not one. His skill is growing, not in strength, in depth. He reads faster, sees farther, the panels are clearer, less interference. But something else is growing too. On the other side, the distortions are intensifying. Every month, the dungeons are harder, the bosses are stronger, there are more phases, the mechanics are more sophisticated. Someone is leveling things up. Not for Ethan, for everyone, for humanity, because something is coming, and time is running out. Ethan stands before a whiteboard at headquarters. On the board is a map of the world, red dots, distorted dungeons. There are 3 times as many now as there were a year ago. Korea, Japan, the US, Germany, Russia, Brazil, everywhere. A pattern. Ethan sees it. The distortions aren't random. They're arranged in a spiral. If you connect the dots with a line, the spiral converges at a single point. Coordinates. The Pacific Ocean, the Mariana Trench, a place where there are no dungeons, where there has never been a gate, but where, according to Ethan's calculations, there must be something. The root server, the point from which everything is controlled. He stands in front of the map. Behind him is the team. Hajin with a sword, Ji-young with a staff, Haley with a rifle, Yuna with a healing staff, Sarayon with a phone, Haeun with a laptop. 6 people, and him. Ethan turns to them. He speaks. "I found the door, the root server, the place where everything originates, the gate, the dungeons, the distortions, the silence." Hajin nods, without a word. Haley nods. Ji-yeon takes off her glasses, wipes them, puts them back on, nods. Yuna nods. Sarayon nods. Haeun closes his laptop, nods. 7 people, 1 door. Behind the door is the one who, 20 years ago, uploaded humanity into the training ground. The one who writes the code. The one who left Ethan with Kador. The one who waits. Ethan opens his tablet, opens a new file, raid plan, root server, version 1, and begins to calculate. He isn't calculating how to get through. He's figuring out how this specific team can get through this specific dungeon without a single scratch. Hajin doesn't like the right flank. The plan is built without the right flank. Ji-young's accuracy drops by the 3rd hour. Her roll ends at the 2nd. Haley's finger shakes after 5 shots. Her position is always at 4. Yuna's mana runs out after 4 hours of continuous healing. 5 potions in reserve. Sarayon's skill only works with voice contact. Everyone has a radio. Haeun, Hyun will stay home. She'll wait. She'll believe. She'll make broth for their return. Ethan writes the last line of the plan, the goal. Reach the one who writes the rules. Talk. Understand why. And if necessary, rewrite the rules to fit people, not the other way around. He saves the file, closes the tablet, looks at the team, speaks. Tomorrow, Hajin smiles. A small smile, that very one, the one he sees more and more often. Haley twirls a bullet between her fingers. Ji-young is writing something in a notebook. Yuna is checking the potions. So-rayon is dialing a number. Haeun is putting the kettle on. Ethan Park, 24 years old, rank F, mana 0.03, skill, analysis and optimization, hidden class, strategist, the weakest of them all in any room. But after every word he speaks, the room falls silent. A skinny guy with a tablet, with hands trembling from exhaustion, with a mom who calls every night, with a team that follows his every command, with enemies who have become allies, with a world that, for the first time in 20 years, is beginning to understand that dungeons aren't a curse, but a test, and with the one on the other side of the code, the one who waits, the one who knows, the one who wrote code suspiciously similar to the code of the games Ethan himself made in a small studio in Pangyo. Tomorrow they will open a door that no one else can see, and for the first time in history, Ethan will do something he has never done before. He won't tell them where to strike. He won't show them a weak spot. He won't say a word right now. He will sit down at the terminal and write the answer with his own hands. Hands that carried boxes, typed code, put the kettle on at 3 in the morning. Hands that are enough.